That really is, it's such a tribute to Elizabeth and Miles that you've all made this tremendous effort to get here, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Right, now when I look at Elizabeth and Miles,
we're very far apart.
I'm very much reminded of an old television programme, a sketch on the Morecambe and Wise show, which is a BBC production. It's a very popular comedy programme, variety programme. They always had a famous guest. The guest on this particular occasion was Andre Previn, musical orchestral conductor. Now for this guy, Eric Morecambe was going to play Grieg's Piano Concerto, which I understand is quite a difficult bit to play. However, he started off after a few false starts, and even to my untrained ear it was absolutely atrocious. Andre Previn rushed across and said, "Stop, stop, you're playing all the wrong notes." So this is where Elizabeth and Miles come in, to which Eric Morecambe said, "Well, I'm playing all the right notes, but not necessarily in the right order." There is no truth in the rumour that has been circulated. And I've had a special deal on this tent to keep it for the christening. Now, Elizabeth Miles, you'll have to know this, has a very good memory, is a determined character, and copies things that she hears from a very early age. When she was about 2, she and Victoria would sit, up to 2.5, she and Victoria would sit and share my second breakfast, bacon and eggs, fried bread, all sorts of things. And they thoroughly enjoyed it. And then we'd finish off with toast. On a particular occasion, we'd had the eggs and the bacon, we put the toast in the toaster, and sat, and nothing happened. And I said, "Oh, blow, it's switched off at the mains." To which Elizabeth said, "I bet it was that frigging Hillary." Don't forget to And I might as well tell you this, Miles, your Encyclopedia Britannica, put it on eBay because she knows everything.
Oh yes.
Now this is a little medical story about one of Elizabeth's colleagues, another anaesthetist, who was very successful. She married a very up-and-coming cardiologist. And when they'd been together for a year or two, they bought themselves a top-of-the-range, very expensive Mercedes car. When they went to the garage to collect it, a mechanic was working on a very similar car just around the corner. So he said, "Hey Doc, come over here." So the heart surgeon went over. He said, "Look, I've taken the cylinder head off, I'm removing the valves, I'm cleaning up the pistons, and I'm putting it all back together again. This is the heart of the machine. So my job, in some ways, is very much like yours." And the heart surgeon said, "Yes, well, I suppose you could say that." So then he said, "Well, why is it that I earn 30,000 a year and you earn 350,000 a year?" To which his anaesthetist wife came across and said, "You try doing it with the engine running." Now then, we'll now turn to page 2. This is an agricultural story, which I don't know whether I should tell you this or not, but I'm going to. There was a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere, and a bloke went to the door of this farmhouse and knocked on the door, and a lad of about 12 answered the door, and the guy said, "Is your dad in?" He said, "No." He said, "Is your mum in?" He says, "No." "Is your brother in?" "No, I'm all on my own. Can I help?" So the chap said, "Well, not really." He said, "But it's about my daughter Mary. I rather think that your elder brother Lucas has got Mary pregnant, and I just wondered what your father was going to do about it." So the boy said, "Well," he said, "I know he charges £20 for the ball and £10 for the ball. I don't know what he charges for Lucas." Right. Now Miles is, as we all know, Miles is a very brave man. Apart from that, it's an old English, because he's an investment advisor. And I have to tell him this now before we get any further. It's an old English custom that once you marry a young lady like Elizabeth, you become responsible for her debts. I've got a list starting off with nappy liners, going through babysitters, school expenses, a half share in running a Volkswagen Beetle, university expenses, and I was going to put resurfacing the drive, but Hillary said we can't put that in. But I just wanted to say, if I can get half the pleasure out of these grandchildren that we hope will arrive, that I've already had from the grandchildren, I don't know where they are, the grandchildren I've already got, then I don't say this lightly, I'll cancel the debt.
Have you thought about that?
Not for very long, no. Right, I think that's it, lads. I mean, we don't have to go, and I'm not going to, because I don't know if there's a book on this speech or not, but if there is, I'm glad you took the short one. I want to propose 2 toasts now, which is slightly unusual, but the first toast, because these things always, I know I might not appear, but I get quite sentimental on these occasions, and I want to propose a toast. I want to propose a toast to all the people that I wish were here, like my mum and Hillary's mum, and all sorts of people, lots of friends of ours that we all know that ought to be here and would have made it even more special. So I want to propose a toast to absent friends. And now, the reason why we're all here, and the reason why I've spent all this money, and all the alcohols and sailor return, so don't force yourself. Right. I want to wish Miles and Elizabeth, and this is getting a bit serious. I'm going to get sentimental again if I'm not careful. I want to wish these 2 every happiness, and I'm sure if they continue as they have done so far, we shall be okay. Miles and Elizabeth. I think it's Miles' turn now. And I can have a drink.
Thank you, Jeff, for the kind words. And the rest of them. For those who don't know, Jeff was 17 when his father died. So he left school to take over the family farm. And today, we're gathered in he and Hillary's garden, drinking their wine, and eating the food they've kindly provided. We'll be sucking their power later. Sharing in the fruits of their hard work over the years. It's impossible to thank everybody who had a hand helping make this wedding happen. The first thanks certainly goes to Jeff and Hillary. Most importantly, they gave us our star of the day, love of my life, Elizabeth Margaret Putnam. Said the eyes are the window to the soul. And to see a truly good soul, full of kindness, thoughtfulness, intelligence, patience, tireless positive energy, and an inexhaustible good nature. Take a moment sometime tonight to look into Liz's eyes. And know how lucky I feel to partner with her today, stand next to her for the rest of our lives. There's another important life coming along. To test that tireless energy. Honeybee, you'll be a wonderful mom. You have one yourself. And just like your mom, you've got a very loving man beside you. And when I asked Hillary and Jeff whether it would be okay for me to propose to Liz, Hillary's exact words were, "Oh." And Jeff said, "The only problem, Miles, is you're an American." He didn't say no. Problem is not the word you want to hear when you ask to marry me. But here we are. And if you look around tonight, here's the solution to that very tiny problem. Here's our global network. For the third time tonight, after the vicar and Jeff, I'll remind you, people are here from Vancouver, Berlin, South Africa, from Australia via New Zealand, also Australia via Iraq, Falkland Islands, Honduras, and Puerto Rico. Oh. And then, of course, There's all our guests from the USA. America!
That's really cool.
We have a couple of guests from as far south as Texas, which considers itself an independent. As well as multiple guests from both coasts, and of course many from my dear Midwest. And wherever Liz and I go, we'll always have dear friends there. Truly, I think we both wish we could simply be everywhere at once. We can't. But today, everywhere came to us. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming as the Reeds guests today. Liz and I look forward to returning that favor at your homes someday.
Next Wednesday.
Let me mention especially some friends who played a special role in today's ceremony and in this reception. Thank you to Chris Whitten first, the talented Berliner who provided the organ music.
Yes.
To the Reverend Canon John Westwood, who married us in God's home in Rothwell today. And to Auntie Marg, who provided the wedding cake. The Americans especially should take a look at the wedding cake before we cut it later. It's a little bit different than the ones that we have. Thank you, Shiny. Thank you to Elaine, my godmother, for reading in church today. Both of you, good job. Thank you to Jay for shuttling as well. It's been a lot of that. To my own parents, Graham and Catherine Putnam. They celebrated their 36th wedding anniversary on Tuesday. One of the values that they imparted to me, and one that Liz's parents imparted upon her as well, is the value of independence. Being able to support yourself with your own work. And the real truth is, I've barely had to prove myself. I've always had so much overwhelming support from both of you. Mom and Dad, and I've got help now. I've got Liz. Yep.
There's a check, Miles.
We won't let you down. More than anything, we look forward to introducing you to your first grandchild, likely in September. If we can give our baby half of what our parents gave us, things will turn out just fine. On the subject of family, a special word to those who passed on. Robert Anderson, Von Putnam, Velmond Von Putnam, Grandma Keith, Elizabeth's grandma and Grandpa Jean. I'd like to mention my grandma back in Michigan, who's alive but couldn't travel to be here. Grandma Anderson always used to ask whether I found a girl yet that I was interested in. She always said interested in, which seemed to me a very old-fashioned figure of speech. What I realize now is that's exactly the right way to put it. Television sells one idea of what love is, and in the real world, what happens is you become interested in somebody first. You say, oh, isn't that English accent cute? Isn't it cool? All those things doctors learn. How a hospital works. Aren't your friends nice people? Funny jokes. See how her family does some things differently, and how they're still just like mine, anyway. You get interested in somebody, layer by layer. And the day comes when you know you want to keep learning about them forever. If they feel the same way, you get married. Grandma knows. Thank you to my groomsmen. You've each played your part. Cyrus and Mick. Dan with the camera. Your turn next day. February, he'll be getting married. And thank you for everyone else, of course, for the rehearsal dinner and tea on Thursday. Everything we've yet to do today. Special thanks to my best man, Drew Garrick. Sometimes people assume that Drew and I are brothers. We're not by birth. We share one mother. To Liz's lovely bridesmaids, Victoria, Hannah, Sarah, Jessica, and my sister Elise. Thank you. The flowers of our garden party here. I know Liz values your friendship very highly. parents gave her a good launch out into the world, but it's her sister and her friends who have always helped her land safely. For that, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Hope to see you in those lovely blue dresses on the dance floor later. A little bubbly might help with that. So let's raise our glasses and toast the health and happiness of the bridesmaids.
The bridesmaids.
Cheers to you. Thanks for coming, and I'm going to hand it over to my best man, Drew Gary.
Hey.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here, Miles and Liz. I'd like to begin by thanking Jeff and Hillary for inviting us into their home. And thank you to the Putnam family, whose generosity I've known for many years now. I understand that it's English custom that I give this toast on behalf of the bridesmaids. Ladies, you look lovely tonight. You're in excellent hands. I'm good at marriage. I've been married about 7 months. Feels like it can't be more than 5. American custom is that I get liquored up and embarrass Miles. Tales of his love life. And I'd love nothing more. I don't have a lot of great material. I can't tell you what happened in college. Miles arrived at college, and via his family business, he had all kinds of neat magic tricks and sleights of hand. Make a quarter disappear, a matchbook explode, that kind of thing. And we would encourage him to break the ice with girls at parties, to work his magic, so to speak. And one of two things would happen. He would either kind of screw up the trick a little bit, everybody gets a little bit embarrassed, or he'd do the trick so perfectly, with such flair and such magic, that he'd scare her right the hell off. really had no luck. I shouldn't poke too much fun, like Miles said. We've been accused of brothers. Certainly people make fun of us sometimes. We're a lot alike. That's only kind of half the story. The other half is that through admiration or like outright theft, I've borrowed a lot from Miles. I took the same classes in college. I've kind of adopted his hometown. Ties the same. I used to retell his jokes at parties without credit. I still do that. I might do that later. But Miles is worthy of admiration and worthy of mimicry. He's an incredible friend. He's generous with his time. Always up for a beer or a ball game, road trip, or help you move apartments. He has a fierce intelligence that has once or twice been mistaken for arrogance. He had a saying in college, it's very clever: who has hubris ever come back to hurt? Not Miles. My mother had come to know Miles through the years. Oh, I'm sorry, I have one more thing. Miles has an amazing ability to make you feel included. This is the best part. When you hang out with Miles, you feel like you're part of the crew, like you're part of the gang. And moreover, that your gang is kind of the biggest and the funniest and the smartest gang in the room. His confidence will actually wear off on you, and that's a really rare quality. My mother had come to know Miles over the years, and said that although he doesn't date a lot, he's going to find the right girl. He's going to marry her straight away. I thought Mom was just talking, but Mom was right. Liz is the right girl. I know Liz is the right girl. One reason is I called Miles during one of our football games, college football, our beloved Michigan Wolverines. Go Blue. Go Blue. Go Blues is what we say instead of God Save the Queen. So I called him. Called him during the football game, during halftime. He was painting his living room. I fear that for Liz there are some hard truths to be learned about what Miles does during sporting events. But marriage is a process. And that process might sometimes involve 42 beers and yelling at 19-year-olds on the TV. But mostly I'm just really glad to have someone new to steal things from, to really round out my personality. So, Liz, if you find me becoming very clever or very kind or like a doctor in the next film, you'll understand why. Everyone's very clever when they're 22. We had a saying when we were in college. He said, and Miles actually stole this from me, he won't admit it, but everything in moderation, even moderation. And we were using it to justify just having a few too many beers. And but you hang out with Miles and Liz, you spend time with them, and you understand that there's lots of other things that don't require moderation, like good humor and friendship, and now love and family. So please join me, raise your glasses, in a toast to Miles and Liz and the lucky little one on its way, and their new life together. Cheers.
Well done, Mike. Shall we do photographs now? We'd like to